German soccer at its zenith. More successful than ever. World-class stars. Headhunted by the top clubs. All at once, German football stands for speed, skill, and innovation, not just physical toughness. What went right? What are the secret ingredients? What does Germany do that others don't?
On a hot night in Rotterdam, humiliation for Germany.
Rotterdam, 20th of June 2000. Germany crashes out of the group stage of Euro 2000 with a whimper, not a bang.
Of course, the Euro 2000 tournament was a clear sign to the movers and shakers that something had to change.
There's a feeling that the team has aged, and with so many foreign imports playing in the Bundesliga, there's not enough young talent coming through.
The players' average age, 31 and a half.
After we won the World Cup in 1990, Franz Beckenbauer predicted that with the new players from the former East Germany, we'd be unbeatable for decades. And we believed that, patting each other on the backs and ignoring the countries passing us by on all sides.
Portugal 3, Germany 0, and out go the reigning champions.
After the clod-hopping soccer we played in 2000, we changed tack to, we have to have fun, we have to develop our technique, and we simply have to promote skilled players. And that's why we now have guys like Marco Reus, Mesut Özil, and Mario Götze.
Time for German soccer to be reborn. In 2001, a few months after the Rotterdam debacle, the head honchos of the German Football Association, the DFB, sat down with top executives from the German Football League and Germany's clubs with a clear and simple goal: for Germany to develop more world-class players.
After the turn of the millennium, we wanted to approach the challenge with a certain strategy, with a concept. And what we ended up doing was top of the range.
In 2002, the DFB launched a multi-million euro campaign to promote young prodigies. The entire system of developing young players was revamped.
The nice thing is that the entire DFB was involved in the project. The complete German soccer system with its 26,000 clubs worked.
The better you make the base, the better trained the people are, the better equipped the children are, and the better the coaches at the bottom, the better the players you will have in the long run.
The DFB, the world's biggest sporting association with nearly 7 million members, went back to the roots. Officials were convinced that unless amateur soccer was transformed, professional football would not change.
So what's the score? Thanks, I'll just climb aboard.
The project DFB Mobile exemplifies the importance of amateur soccer. 30 of these vans tour the country's villages, spreading football expertise. Trained professional coaches try to bring standards up to DFB levels. This time, they're visiting the 7- and 8-year-olds playing for the club Pneumant-Fürstenwalde in the state of Brandenburg.
Guten Tag. Trainer, hallo, das ist Co-Trainer bei der E, wenn ich das richtig gesehen habe. Bei der D, siehst du, ja. Das können doch alles noch Spieler sein. Hallo. Hallo.
Here, amateur coaches get free and simple advice from the pros. The idea is to raise the standards of amateur soccer.
We'll get you involved in some exercises. If something strikes you, please speak up, even if you think you see a mistake. And you'll see that it makes sense for you and not just us to say something when we do these exercises. Together, we can make this work. One of the most important aspects is that we conduct a practice session with the coaches and make sure we impart the experience, the innovation, coaching expertise, etc. That way, the coaches keep seeking higher qualifications. They're aware of the things on offer from the DFB to improve the quality of our work with children.
Noch mehr Qualität in unsere Arbeit mit den Kindern zu bringen. Alle ins Tor, die Bälle, lass da liegen. Wo spielst du Fußball?
Where do you play football? With Pneumant. You play with a club. And everybody who plays for the club and takes an active part in it also belongs to the DFB. So we're all world champions with 4 stars on our chests.
Alle Weltmeister.
I started playing football with a tiny club, BSC Muckenloch. And it is crucial that you have coaches who motivate you, who make you enthusiastic about football. It doesn't start up there in the Bundesliga, it starts down at the very bottom.
And at that age, it's not necessarily just about football.
It goes like this. You throw the ball up in the air and clap your hands once. Then, of course, you have to catch the ball again.
But what may look simply playful has a deeper meaning for development.
It didn't work for me. When I throw the ball backwards, I look behind, but I just can't get it right.
The reason we did that was to train your skill with the ball, a bit of coordination. It's the same as having the ball at your feet. We have to be able to decide whether we can make the pass to the feet of our teammate who has just started a run. You need a feel for the ball.
It's really important to be enthusiastic and keen, but that doesn't help us figure out whether we're teaching the kids the right things. So it's very important to know what age group should be taught what. You can expect more from a kid in the top youth bracket who's just about to make the jump to adult soccer than from a 7-year-old like the ones we had today.
It will always be important to get the right people involved in underage football, to get good coaches who will help kids develop their individuality, their own talent. We have to get away from the old formula of standing in a line and doing a particular exercise for 20 minutes. Most of the children would have lost interest by then.
So who's the top passer? Let's go.
The idea is for young players to learn at an early age the thing that makes Mesut Özil, Toni Kroos & Co. stand out: quick, accurate passing, the most important element in modern soccer.
We need to teach them basic skills. Passing, for example, looking for the open man, knowing when to run with the ball, not just how to control the ball. These things have to be learned at an early age, so that the players can learn other things when they move up to the full-size pitch.
Im Kleinfeldbereich ausprägen, damit wir dann auf dem Großfeldbereich die anderen Dinge machen können.
I also think it's very important to talk to the coaches about what can be done better, how they can acquire better qualifications. It's a broad base on which our soccer is founded. It's what has led to the pinnacle we've reached, namely 4 World Cups.
Zu der Spitze führen, die wir jetzt erreicht haben, nämlich 4-facher Fußball-Weltmeister zu sein.
Mit Herz und Tag für
To become a pro, you first have to be discovered. Since the reform, some 1,300 professional coaches at 366 DFB centers have been trying to make sure no prodigy slips through the net. For the DFB, every child is a potential international.
Englischnoten zurückbekommen. Es gibt 4 Einsen, 9 Zweien, ein paar Dreien, ein paar
Karl is one of those scouted children. The 12-year-old who plays for the youth section of the Berlin club Hertha 03 is one of the club's best. He was discovered by DFB scouts. Since then, his life has changed.
Dann hat Kai Finke aber gleich gesagt, Junge, verschuldest du mir was. Wenn ich von der Schule komme, ist es eigentlich
When I get home from school, it all goes very quickly.
wenig Freizeit.
I don't have much time for myself. I come home from school, do my homework and study a bit.
Dann muss ich schnell Tasche
Then I have
packen,
to
damit ich
pack
das
my
nicht schon
bags and go to
alles
training.
gemacht habe. Und dann geht's
When I
eigentlich
get
wieder
home,
zurück.
I might study a bit, eat my
Und dann,
supper,
wenn ich
and then
abends
get to bed by
rauskomme,
8.
lerne ich vielleicht noch ein bisschen, esse Abendbrot und dann möchte
Because
ich
in my
endlich mal
opinion,
am
how you
Vorabend
play
vielleicht
depends a
noch
lot on how early you get to bed.
Weil meiner Meinung nach hängt das ganz viel damit zusammen, wie man spielt, wenn man früh schlafen geht.
4 club training sessions a week and 1 match. Add to that the session at the DFB's High Performance Center, where Karl has to prove himself once a week.
Mein einziges Problem ist eigentlich
My
das
main
Tempoproblem.
problem is
Also
speed.
sozusagen, ich bin
I'm
nicht
not
so
as quick
schnell
in
im
the sprint
Antritt
as
wie
others.
manch anderer,
But I am good
aber
at
ich habe
passing
eine
and my technique is good.
Passqualität, und so
My strong
Technik
points are
halt.
technique and reading the game.
Übersichtstechnik, so ist meine Stärke eigentlich.
Training at the High Performance Center in Berlin-Wannsee with some 30 other scouted 11 and 12-year-olds. This is the age at which the DFB system kicks in. Weekly observation of performance levels by approved qualified coaches with constant additions to the players' technical and tactical repertoires. Being good at soccer is just a basic requirement. To make the grade, the players must also be able to grasp and implement complex plans.
Und? Ja, es ganz groß zu machen. Wir haben riesig lange Wege. Was muss man bei
What's
diesem
the aim
Spiel
of this game?
ganz, ganz schnell machen?
Getting rid of the
Ja,
ball?
loswerden. Wir wollen Ball ja nicht loswerden.
Not
Wir
quite
wollen ja
getting
eine
rid of it.
Spielverlagerung
We don't want to
oder eine
lose the
nächste
ball. We
Spielaktion
want to
damit
launch the
einleiten.
next attack
Der
by
erste
moving
Kontakt,
play
die
elsewhere.
Ballkontrolle ist heute weder
Today,
aus
we're not
Dribbling
practicing the
bezogen, noch
first
auf
touch
irgendwelche
before
Finten
dribbling
oder
or selling
sondern
dummies.
wirklich übers Kombinationsspiel,
We want to practice
über die
combinations from this
ersten
first touch that shifts the game backwards, forwards, or to the wings.
Ja, die wechseln jetzt immer gleich von uns nach oben. Ist am besten, haben wir mehr Wechsel.
I think scouting has become more professional and comprehensive, that more attention is paid to the potential and development of talent. But I also think scouts have always had an eye on who can hack it. All we care about is what will become of a player in 10 years, when they've got to the stage of playing adult soccer, perhaps even on a professional level. They only have 7 or 8 years to get ready.
Oder maximal 8 Jahre Zeit dafür.
Aufdrehen, Mitnahme und Abschluss mit dem äußeren Fuß. Habt ihr das verstanden? Ja. Kommt gleich der Gegenspieler, dann wird es schwieriger. Ja? Wenn der Ball gespielt ist, ja? We
have two vital elements. First, off-the-ball movement, getting away from your marker and taking up a position where you can receive the ball and head for goal. That's modern soccer. Getting free, calling for the ball, moving in the same direction as the ball has to go, namely the goal.
In die Richtung bekommt, wo der Ball eigentlich hin muss, nämlich ins Tor.
It used to be different. You had time to stop the ball and decide what to do with it. But the modern game is so fast that the players learn at an early age to receive the ball and head for goal in one movement.
It's a modern strategy that has drawn a lot of praise. But some academic studies question whether the DFB's approach really works.
Very few of the players who are scouted at an early age actually become pros. Most of the top-class pros never got early coaching. It's all there in the numbers. So if we look at the younger age groups, 10 or 12-year-olds, we can already tell that more than 99% of them will never make the top grade. And of those at the top level, say on the national team or in the Bundesliga, more than 80% got no special attention in this age group.
The statistics offer ample proof that there is no such thing as the off-the-rack pro, and that the DFB's concept for promoting young players is far from perfect.
It works like this. A large number of young players are recruited and tested. Some make it through the system and stay on, but most of them are replaced by others who are thought to have greater potential after a very short time. In other words, despite all the success, the system is more for selection and rejection than it is for actually developing talent.
So it's selection that leads to success and not development. The DFB doesn't seem to care all that much about the difference. Successful pros are justification enough for the system. The pressure is even greater in the next and decisive phase when it comes to becoming an international, in the young players' high-performance centers. This is where the professional clubs come in. Since 2002, clubs in the Bundesliga's first division have been obliged to run high-performance centers. The second division followed a year later. There are now 54 of these centers in Germany.
The high-performance centers for young players are very important because they offer our best talents top-class training methods and top-quality facilities.
One of these young talents is Florian Krüger. After classes at the elite soccer school, the 17-year-old goes to training with the under-17s at FC Schalke. Florian lives in the boarding school here, 400 kilometers away from his family.
I started at the age of 4. My father took me to the club because all I did at home was kick the ball around. I enjoyed it from the beginning, but I also dreamt of becoming a professional player and getting established in the Bundesliga in the long term. Moving many kilometers away, hundreds of kilometers, was a big step. Hard work and tough times. When you have problems, you don't have your parents to turn to. It's not the same over the phone, but you get used to it. And if there are hard times, you can also talk to your teammates, which is a good thing.
From outside, the facilities at the high-performance centers for young players look highly professional. The first and second division clubs invest some 130 million euros a year in this sort of infrastructure. Benedikt Hövedes also served his football apprenticeship here. He was the only outfield player who played every minute of Germany's matches at the 2014 World Cup.
You see all the young players coming up through the ranks into the professional leagues now, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and nothing new these days. The players arrive early. That's partly because they're well trained, but also because the facilities at their disposal are phenomenal.
Die einfach phänomenal gut sind.
In addition to Hövedes, 3 more members of the World Cup winning squad attended Schalke's boarding school, the Knappenschmiede. Julian Draxler, Manuel Neuer, and Mesut Özil. Oliver Runert, director of the Schalke Youth Academy, is proud of this output. Yet the concept was not always popular. In 2000, most clubs shied away from the investment required for the high-performance centers. But it's turned out that the obligation was actually a blessing.
I think the DFB's decision to establish the high-performance centers in 2000 was of elementary importance. Clay and cinder pitches are a thing of the past. Instead, we can develop technique at the highest level. In the old days, Germany had a reputation for earning titles with blood, sweat, and tears. It's important to have that mentality, but if you look at the 2014 team, we've developed our football skills and tactics too. The way soccer is played today has changed dramatically. In the old days, a lot of teams played with a libero, or sweeper, because that was the done thing. You started by keeping the goals out at your own end. The emphasis was on defense. Nowadays, defense and offense are combined. For example, you start pressing in the opponent's half, forcing them to commit errors and quickly creating chances on the break. There are many incredibly subtle refinements that were developed over the years and that we trained and trained until they were ready for implementation.
But it's the young players who pay the price for this early development. The pressure to perform is nearly as high as it is among professionals. Players have to focus on their careers. Youthful rebelliousness is frowned upon.
It's very important to me that the players live their dream, that they are willing to do everything to subordinate other aspects of life. In my opinion, this is a crucial criterion for making it to the top.
The alarm clock goes off at 7. Then we get ready for school, eat breakfast, go for a couple of hours of classes followed by a short break, then 2 more hours of classes followed by another short break. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have training at school. Then we go back to class until 4 in the afternoon. At 5:30, we have training again. You don't have much time. You've got to plan carefully.
The children feel the pressure to succeed, to be selected. They also fear being excluded. Furthermore, in these high-performance centers, they don't have their teammates or coach to fall back on. Why? Because my teammate is also the one competing with me for a space in the system. He's my competitor above all else. And my coach, who would normally establish a long-term pedagogic and supportive relationship with me based on human warmth, is also my selector, the one who decides whether I will be here next season or not.
Der also darüber entscheidet, ob ich in der nächsten Saison weiter hier spielen darf oder nicht.
Of course, the older you get and the higher the league, the greater the competition. But you have to accept that if you want to be a professional player, and that becomes part of your daily normality.
June 2009. The new system begins to bear fruit. Germany wins the Under-21 European Championships with a 4-0 triumph over England in the final. It was Germany's first ever U21 title.
The main thing for me was the quality of the squad we had. On the one hand, it was a team that had really bonded. To have an outstanding goalkeeper and an outstanding fullback, or even three of them, then the likes of Castro in central midfield, Özil up front, and of course Höwedes, who is world class. We had everything we needed.
Otto Hrubesch was exactly what I was talking about earlier. He placed huge value on the team performance, and he brought out the qualities that everybody knew were in the team.
What pleases me most is what became of Mats Hummels, Castro and all the others. They all developed really well and turned into class individuals.
6 of the players who won the title in 2009 were regulars on the team that won the World Cup 5 years later.
The U21 team is ultimately the finishing point for the career at the junior level, the last stage. And everybody wants to be picked for a big tournament. And the prestige is very important because everybody knows that there is only one team after that and everybody wants to be on it. The senior national team.
There's only been true cooperation between the senior national team and the underage teams since the DFB introduced a director of sports in 2006. Before, the national coaches used to pick their players directly from the clubs. Now, coaches like Horst Hrubesch rake their talents from the DFB's own system.
Most of the U21 players haven't got to the stage that they are leaders at their clubs. That is why it's so important to play for the junior national team and experience this atmosphere. Here, they have to take responsibility. Some can do it better than others. Some let themselves be led more, but they also learn from the others. And some develop their own personalities in the process. And you can see from the results. We can go through the whole squad, from Boateng to Manuel Neuer. They all developed very well.
Most U21 internationals are already well established in the Bundesliga or at other top European clubs.
If you look at our underage teams and the quality we have, there's no excuse anymore for losing. After all, football is a game, especially at the absolute elite level, where you have to play to win matches and to win titles.
That's precisely what Germany has been doing recently. 4 youth European titles in 8 years. That's more than in the previous 25 years. However, the competition never sleeps either. With 9 titles in that span, Spain is the benchmark. So how does Germany compare internationally? The company Double Pass in Belgium has the data. Like a rating agency, it analyzes and evaluates youth academies all over Europe. And the German system gets good marks.
There was a vision, but there was also the plan how to do it. And 2 things for me are also important. That is the investment in the academies. On the one hand, the professional academies in Bundesliga, and on the other hand, the creation of the Stützpunkte, Eliteschule. So the structure, the talent development pyramid is very clear in Germany.
For years, talent development played a minor role in world soccer. That has changed. And Germany is not the only place where a rethink has happened.
Well, I think today what is happening in Europe, that everybody is start thinking about talent development, because in most of the countries it's no longer considered as a cost, but rather a mean to have return on investment.
A few people saw this before others. FC Barcelona, with its world-famous academy La Masia, has always been a beacon of youth development. The great Johan Cruyff, who played for the club in the 1970s and later became its coach, had a defining influence on the system. In his 8-year career as coach, he promoted 29 players from La Masia to the professional ranks. Following the example of his home club Ajax Amsterdam, he introduced the same playing system for every team, regardless of age, so that the graduating players would fit seamlessly into the first team. To this day, La Masia leads the way when it comes to churning out professionals for the European market. The nominees for the Ballon d'Or in 2010 bore testimony to the success of Barcelona's academy. All 3 nominees, Iniesta, Messi, and Xavi, were homegrown.
They're very well trained because they place great emphasis on technique.
The clubs led the way. In certain regions, you always had clubs like Barcelona. It's a familiar pattern. They would keep buying players at an early age from the region. Okay, Clairefontaine in France is the same.
The French Performance Center in Clairefontaine near Paris, which opened in 1988, was considered exemplary for many years. Concentrating the talent in this way was new. Clairefontaine produced the core of the team that went on to win the World Cup in 1998 and the European Championships 2 years later.
Years ago, they were world champions, and everybody takes the French model as a role model. I think, yes, at that time, the idea of the centre de formation was an important idea. Today, well, what is the further innovation? They didn't change the system, and that's probably the reason. They didn't innovate it. So it's a question of, okay, you have a plan, but you have still to innovate this plan.
What about England, the motherland of football? Does anybody have a plan here? The national side hasn't won a title for half a century. Young English superstars are a rarity. This man knows why. The German soccer columnist Raphael Honigstein has been living in England for more than 20 years.
English football has one problem, in inverted commas, and that is too much money. It's very hard to be innovative and patient when you know you can just go into the shop and buy what you need. And that problem, in inverted commas, is only going to get worse with a new Premier League deal, TV deal filtering through. It's going to be very, very hard for clubs who are under pressure to achieve results and the pressure to get into the Champions League or to stay up, to say we're going to trust this 19-year-old now to be our centre-back when, you know, he might be a little bit inexperienced, he might not have the same level of performance, consistency. Very, very hard to get around that.
The English Premier League turns over more than 4 billion euros a year, making it the world's richest league by far. But it also leads the way with an average of 70% foreign players. And at 27.3 years, the average age of players is almost 2 years higher than in the Bundesliga.
Most clubs don't have a very big horizon when it comes to investment for youth. They do it because it's mandatory to have an academy. They do it because it is seen as something positive for English football. But a lot of them have non-English owners, foreign owners. A lot of them have foreign managers. What is really their real interest and motivation to produce young English players? It's not really that big. And even the fans themselves, especially compared to Germany, are much happier getting big names and superstars that will give you immediate return, scoring goals, giving you excitement, rather than saying, okay, we'll take now this kid and make him a first-team player over the course of 3 or 4 years.
But action is being taken. St. George's Park near Birmingham, built in 2012, is England's new national football centre. Full internationals and underage players meet here regularly. state-of-the-art training facilities and technology for a more successful future.
They're looking at the German model, they're looking at what's been happening in France and in Spain, and they're trying to crack that big nut to find a solution to go from just having academies where I'm sure the education is pretty good, to having young teams that can actually compete. When you look at the competitions, you know, the Youth Champions League, English teams do well, to actually having a production line that takes these guys up the ladder to the point where they're actually regulars in the Premier League.
The English FA has identified the problem and has been doing something about it since 2012. Measures include obliging Premier League clubs to include at least 8 homegrown players in their squads. The richest club of all, Manchester City, which drew attention in recent years with astronomical transfer fees, is spending big on its youth academy too. It's slated to cost €300 million. Other clubs are revising their strategies as well.
But I think we're beginning also to see a change towards the better. And the change is coming from a few clubs who've said, we'll go a different way. And namely Tottenham, under Mauricio Pochettino, have said, we have some fantastic youngsters, let's actually play them.
They realized, well, it's a long time that we were world champion as England national team. There was a reason in 2000 for the German. There is today a reason in England to change mentality about it. And that is what is happening.
England is changing its approach, and it has the luxury of massive financial power. Will this power pose a threat to other footballing countries?
We can never hope to match England in terms of the revenue they generate there. So we have to ensure that we have the best preparation for young players. It is definitely not good to say, okay, we're world champions, we're top on the planet, and we'll just keep this ticking over because it's all good, because we have great performance centers and academies. No. We have to keep an eye on what other nations are doing. We're open-minded, and we will try to use our expertise so that we remain on top. That is what we demand of ourselves, and we have to rise to that challenge.
Einfach on top sind und das ist unser Anspruch und dem müssen wir auch gerecht werden.
What Germany still lacks, as opposed to other big footballing countries, is a national center. The football associations of England, the Netherlands, France, Italy, and Spain have operated headquarters for years, where first team and underage internationals can rub shoulders. The DFB's answer is this disused racetrack in Frankfurt. It wants to keep a nose in front of other nations so that it never has to go through an experience like Rotterdam again. The DFB is investing more than €100 million in what it calls its project of the century, the DFB Academy.
We can never rest on our laurels. We have to keep developing. Especially after winning the World Cup, it's extremely important not to fall into the trap of believing that we're entitled to success in the decades to come.
It's hoped the DFB Academy will combine training, high-performance sport, and research. A football think tank.
My dream is that for anyone who wants to know something about soccer, his first port of call is here. I want this to be the go-to institution when it comes to soccer expertise.
We want to be the beacon of German football, so that even the Bundesliga will say, okay, that's fine by us. It's not about copying what other people are doing and saying, this is how it's done these days, let's do that too. No, we have to get the best results for the benefit of German soccer.
The days of the gifted street footballer who somehow makes it to the top are coming to an end. Football made in Germany is about support and selection from an early age.
Germany are the champions for the first time since 1990.
It's no secret. Everyone involved in the system knows how many new players the Bundesliga takes in every year, and on the other hand, how many players are developed. I think it's about 150 to 200 players that can enter the Bundesliga in any given year, as opposed to the 20,000 who get development training year in, year out. The football authorities know that most of the scouted players never become professionals, especially not First Division ones.
There's always a bit of luck involved, but I can't do any more than my best. I try to do my best every day, at training and in matches.
Our children are the future. People always think it's just a dream job, but ask the kids, it can be really hard work.
We have to make sure we don't put too much pressure on them, because they're still just children. As long as they're on the miniature pitch, we're dealing with children's soccer. They have to know that school and family come first, and then football. There's always life after your football career, and you have to be ready for it. It's great if it lasts 10, 12, 15 years, but it could also be over after 1 or 2 years. What's vital in all departments is to have fun. If you praise them and keep showing them how to improve, then that's already half the battle. I always look forward to the next training session. I can't get enough. I'm going to go home and have my supper now, and maybe my mother will massage my legs, and then I'll go to bed.
Ja, und dann gehe ich schon ins Bett eigentlich.